Hello guys, and welcome to the All In Squadcast. I'm joined this week by Joe.
Hello.
Dan!
Which one?
Number one.
Why did you scream?
And Aviard.
Why did you scream?
And this week,
That means,
we're going to be looking at
why did Declan scream?
the general election. Hong Kong, yet again, and the university strikes currently occurring in
It seems
the UK.
that we're covering Hong Kong every time we do this.
Hong Kong is a big talking
Hey
point.
guys, we're visiting Hong Kong again.
And it's like, once all of this is like over, it'll just be like the weather currently in Hong Kong.
Yes.
It'll just be like, hey, here's your week forecast.
You ever seen that video on YouTube where it's like 5 hours of the UK shipping forecast?
The shipping forecast.
Yeah,
And
that's
we'll
what
just
we're
turn into that.
Yeah, we will.
I can't say I've seen it, but I'm sure I'd be exhilarated if I did see it.
Oh yeah,
sounds,
it's absolutely brilliant.
sounds good.
So, to begin with, the general election.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's something we're all looking forward to.
Oh boy, politics.
I can't wait to vote.
Can we make the distinction that this is the UK general election, by the
Yes,
way?
this isn't
Yeah,
the.
this is UK, fuck America.
I mean, that's that's next year.
Yes.
To be
The
fair,
The All In
we've only been
Podcast does
fucking-
not
the
does
next
not
podcast.
condone the sexual conduct between people and the state of America.
It'll be on the next podcast, probably something to do with America and elections.
Probably.
I like
I'm
that
calling
idea.
it right now.
I like that idea.
Do I like it? I don't know.
I don't know.
Next
Anyway.
podcast coming to you in 2020.
Anyway, we
Set your
are,
calendars.
as of now, we are 17 days away from the election day itself.
Shit.
We
17.
are.
Yeah, 17 days.
Wait, hang on. What day is it on?
The 12th of December.
12th. That is a. Oh, bastard!
It's a Thursday.
Bastard.
Yes.
Well, go on.
Actually, no. I'm done with uni by then.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Brilliant.
I mean, yeah, you'll get to vote, probably.
Just ignore me. I don't know what I'm talking about once again.
Oh.
Oh.
So, here we're aiming to talk about the.
Yeah, let's deep dive into some policy.
Let's actually get into this
Come on.
and talk about policy.
Serious time.
As much as I don't want to, shall we start with the Conservatives?
Right. I say that we all go yay or nay to each of the priorities.
Okay. Well,
Sure, why not?
lucky for you, I have it up here.
Same.
So,
Yep.
Different location, but I still have it.
right,
Yes.
start off. Top priorities for the Conservatives. Bring back the withdrawal agreement bill to Parliament before Christmas to achieve Brexit by the end of January.
That's
Oh,
assuming that Parliament would pass it.
That is assuming Parliament will pass it.
I am
Well,
That is a
expecting
big
you,
assumption.
That's
The-
assuming that they get a majority.
The goal is the goal for the Conservatives is for them to get a majority in order to pass the bill through Parliament,
Well, for
which is some big ifs.
the sake of this exercise, let's just assume that
This
part-
exercise
the part
was
is-
school.
for the sake of this, let's just assume that the party that we're reading out
Gets
gets
a majority.
a majority within Parliament.
Oh,
okay.
Oh no, that's going to get worse as time goes on. But go on.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Okay. Yeah, we're not covering all of them. We won't be covering UKIP.
Oh no!
We'll very briefly touch on the Brexit Party because you know, newest
they
party
are
on
a
the block.
party.
Newest party
Mhm.
on the block, and they might be able to steal away a few seats.
Yeah.
But yes, so bring back the withdrawal agreement to Parliament. Likelihood of that happening.
Well, it would happen.
It would happen. It would be
It
brought
would
back.
happen. It would enter Parliament. Whether it be passed or not is another matter.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean,
100% chance. Gonna happen. If they get a landslide, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
right,
Whether that's a good thing or not is up for your own interpretation,
Yes.
but
I don't think it would be January. I think it would be July.
You think
July.
a July exit?
Yes.
So this is
The third time.
wasn't the original planned date for the exit of the European Union in July, or was it June?
It was March.
Was it March? Oh my.
It was March.
Oh my apologies then.
It was March, then October, and then
now January, kind
No,
of, if
January,
you vote
yeah.
for the Conservatives.
yeah.
So, since the Tories have purged any opposition within their own party, very akin to the Thatcher purge of the 1980s. A working majority Conservative government would definitely be able to pass through the agreement bill.
Yeah.
Ooh.
However, a more realistic parliament, where it's
Would have the same problems as Parliament faces now.
Now.
Right
yes.
now.
Yeah.
Well,
because with this election, I don't actually see the Conservatives getting this
I don't see anyone winning a
giant
majority.
landslide. No,
I don't see anyone winning a
if you
basic
look at
majority.
the polls, the Tories are in for a victory royale.
Yeah,
well, Labour
Actually
have been
would.
gaining.
Boris Johnson's gonna.
Yeah,
do
but
the
with
orange
17
juice
days
next.
left, I don't think it's enough to turn the
It
tides.
depends. It depends on where these voters are situated, because
Yeah. yeah.
constituency lines and what have you.
Mhm.
I mean, I won't be surprised if Labour did end up taking it, but you never know.
We shall see when we cast our votes and wake up on the 13th of December. Or, as I might do, I might actually stay up and watch it being counted.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
time? What time will that be?
This will
Yeah,
be
what
about
time
five
looking at
in the
here?
this will be about 3 a.m.
Yeah, let's not do that.
There's a pub in.
I
uni.
might do it because
Yeah.
Friday off.
Oh, that's true.
I've
Actually.
got Friday off.
I do not.
It's just I don't like the idea till.
That is unfortunate for
staying
you,
up until,
Declan.
like,
Yeah, I
3 in
know.
the morning watching.
Mm.
funny
I think I've got like a 9 o'clock session at uni, so
Ooh.
I might stay in the bar and watch them all get counted. And be like, "Hi guys, I stayed up all night." We won.
Coming in the next
We've done
morning,
it."
being like,
I think I think we might have to do an election special on the
"Oh
12th.
no, uh
The 12th or the 13th.
Oh, the 12th or the 13th, either works.
Yeah.
Live. Do it
So-
live.
We can't do it live.
Yeah,
The
we can.
next policy of the next top priority of the Conservative government is to give £20.5 billion in additional funding for the NHS in England by 2023 to 2024, with 50 million more GP appointments and 50,000 more nurses.
Yeah, but
Right.
that 50,000 more nurses like a load of bollocks. 'cause
Yes.
I heard
Yes.
something
It is,
about
yeah.
it were like 30,000 were already nurses, and then they were just like getting 20,000 on top of that.
Also, the 50 million GP appointments is also going to be stupid because
That's sort of bullshit, that.
GPs struggle as it is. How the hell are they going to fit in 50 million more
Mm,
appointments?
Yeah,
quite right.
'cause my major question for the majority of the Conservative manifesto is where the hell are they getting these statistics from?
Is
Diana,
in the money or
It's,
Diane Abbott.
Diane Abbott swap
where are they
pies.
getting? Where are you getting additional money from? They're getting it mainly from borrowing, as they've said, but because they don't have an
Because
increased
that's
taxation.
exactly what the country needs right now. Another
Borrowing.
recession.
Yeah, but because they don't have an increased taxation policy where they are doing a triple lock on all tax,
Yeah.
where's this additional income coming from?
If only the people that donated to Conservative Party just,
Just
gave
give it
some
in.
money to the country.
What we'll do is
You know
we'll
what I like to
copy
call
the
that?
Americans. Yeah, what? We'll go on then.
I like to call that taxation.
Dear.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
spicy meatball.
What we'll do is we'll follow America, where they made a $1 trillion coin, and put that into the Federal Reserve to reduce the tax deficit.
That's a
When was this?
I don't know.
Back in
something
day.
I do.
Back, I don't know, but it was 200 IQ play.
Yeah.
It was.
Incoming news: some man has stolen the $1 trillion coin.
Just print more money.
That worked very well for Weimar Germany.
That worked very well for like
All
every Western
places.
country. Yeah.
Yeah, 2011. It was like.
Keynesian economics, be like.
I don't think they actually did it. It was just a concept.
No,
So
it wasn't. It wasn't even back in there. It was like recently.
And it wasn't Drumpf.
No, it was Obama.
You know what? I saw an article which called him Drumpf unironically in
Oh.
2019, and I would like so pissed off when I saw it. I was just
Like-
like, "What are you doing?"
Well, Trump's just gonna have to take the L on that one, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
he's gonna wake up
he's
in the
gone.
morning and be like, tweet about this. They call me
Yeah.
Trump. Get it
This
down.
article from boing.com.
boing boing.
It's because they were like making like fake songs, like fake Morrissey songs and fake like Ramon songs.
Oh
from
no.
That, from that
Yeah.
one, like thing that he wrote.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, Jerome writes baby note, and then songwriters do song.
Okay.
It's just too epic, really.
An interesting point to make about this top priorities list
Is
Yes.
is that it specifically says £25.5 billion additional funding for the NHS in England.
Yes.
Do
Wales,
correct-
Scotland,
do
and
correct,
Northern
correct,
Ireland.
correct me if I'm
Rest
wrong,
of
but if
Ireland.
are the other regions of the United Kingdom less important? Do they not?
Well, there's
exist?
20,000 more police officers, because this is
No,
on the
there's
list
not.
that you're reading from. 20,000
There's
more
not.
police officers over the next 3 years in England and Wales. That's the proposition.
There isn't.
England and Wales. Not Scotland or Northern Ireland.
Well, I mean, Scotland doesn't deserve it because they want to be independent yet rejoin the EU. So,
brain.
Well, we'll
It's
talk
just
about the
big
SNP
brain.
eventually.
Yes,
yeah,
we will.
eventually, and I will get my point across even if it is fundamentally flawed.
But why only in England is
Because
this
we are
funding
the
being going
best.
to?
Well,
Yeah,
it's because the
that's-
Conservatives, they have their, they have the biases, don't they?
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah,
majority of
of course they
the
do.
vast
Big
majority of the
bias.
Conservative voter base is located in England.
Yeah, but the same applies for Labour.
Well, no, because at least like Scottish, Welsh, and Irish Labour make some gains.
No, they're losing now, aren't they? They're losing it to the SNP again.
Yeah. Well, okay, but it's fair better than the Conservative branches. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So these 20,000 police officers, the ones that you just mentioned, Joe,
Mhm.
they're not real.
Well, how do they manage to work around
They are-
the fact that it's fake?
They are fake.
Okay.
They are fake police
What
officers.
I mean by this is that
Is the
they are not new.
Oh, it's same thing with the 50,000 bonus.
These
what, are they just like
police
changing?
these police
the roles?
officers
Mm-hmm.
are essentially being rehired from the days of austerity.
Right.
Yeah.
So during these 9 years of austerity that they've had,
They were put on leave and now they're being brought back.
there's been cuts to public services,
Mm-hmm.
and the police was affected by this. And it's around that number, this 20,000 figure,
Yeah.
that got laid off, fired,
Yeah.
put on leave, whatever.
So they are new, technically.
They are technically
to the
new,
police
but they're
force,
not.
but the numbers are just recuperating from
Yeah,
the
they're
days
just-
of austerity.
They're just balancing out the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's like a realistic goal.
It's more realistic than if they wanted to increase the number of police officers from the level they were at the start of, the start of the millennium. If you want to put it like that.
Yeah.
Because if they were going to say like 50,000 more police officers, then that'd be unrealistic. But it might actually be a gain. But again, it's not a universally accepted policy to have more police officers. Some people won't like it.
No.
And it's like a thing that like all parties seem to do. Like whenever there's a general election, at least one party is going to be like more police officers.
Well, it's mainly
because it's a fundamentally British issue.
Yeah, it's like
Because we always seem to at least the British public always seem to be concerned with crime.
It's like
Yeah,
if
but
every
how
single
crime will be dealt with.
especially now, the rise of knife crime and acid attacks, people are going to be shit. We need to sort this out.
Yeah, but like historically as well, it's like, for example, that's where the Labour Party have made some losses because they've never been seen to be tough on crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like if every single person in the UK was like a police officer, at least one person would still be like, "Oh, we need more police officers."
Of all
I don't think we've
65 million
Enough
people.
police officers. There's like a baby born. It's like, there you go. There's a baton. Go arrest someone.
It just says
Chase
beating
him.
everyone up.
Officer Baby, chase him! Get after him!
Oh,
Where?
movie concept.
I swear Rick and Morty did that.
Oh
I
no,
swear that was a joke that they did.
baby police officer.
Yeah, I swear I've
officer.
just stolen a joke from that.
Cool.
Yeah, but we did it funny.
Okay.
Write in
The
the
next-
comments if you thought baby police officer was funny.
The next policy.
Guys, go
which-
sponsor us on GoFundMe.
Donate to my Patreon, me, my individual Patreon.
The next
Joe's
policy.
director. Yeah, sorry.
The next policy for the Conservatives, which is
Go on.
it's a bit. It doesn't really help.
This is the one about taxation.
It doesn't really help them in explaining where they're getting this money from. Essentially, no rises in income tax, national insurance contributions, or VAT.
The only thing I
Right.
can think of is it's under the false premises of we leave Brexit, we get money back. That's the only way I can see them trying to justify.
Yeah, that old myth of that if we leave the EU, we'll have so much money saved that we can
Yeah, we
donate
get, like-
to other causes.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, we get like £30 billion. once
30
we leave
billion?
the EU or whatever.
Yeah, 30 billion. Of
Well,
course.
the Lib Dems have said 50 billion for if we remain.
It's 50. Oh,
If we remain in the EU, we're
yeah,
going
if we
to
remain in the
see.
EU, Germany's going to be like, "There's a good Britain. Here's 50 billion for you."
Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah, of course. Right. Here's my views on this taxation thing.
Mhm.
I don't have a job, so income tax doesn't affect me. Don't have a job, so national insurance contributions don't affect me.
You have to get a pension eventually.
I buy a lot of shit. VAT affects me. I'm glad that it's
Boo,
not rising.
VAT, boo.
Although I could see how it
Even
could
if
be an
it did
issue.
rise, it'd only be rising by a number of pence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like a fiver.
Yeah, but they'd round it up, wouldn't they?
They'd round it up to the
Let,
nearest
let-
100.
let's be real. The Conservatives were the one that introduced sugar tax,
Yeah.
That's true.
and that's one of the taxation on products that's actually led to like a noticeable increase in price.
I
Mm.
mean, I buy like,
That's just Jamie Oliver's fault.
I
Yeah.
buy Pepsi Max, so it's okay.
I mean, what's the price for? I don't know, stuff like a Sprite now.
Fuck knows. Let me
Well,
Google.
Let me
depends
Sprite.
Google the corner store price of a Sprite.
Yeah, I'm googling.
Well,
Sprite.
I'm just trying. Was it about
Okay.
15p that they increased the price by?
Something like that.
Pack of 24 Sprite on
Yeah,
Amazon
that's a pack of
is
24.
is £15.
Oh, value.
Or
That's actually pretty good.
regular
That's actually
15
value.
mil, regular 500 mil. Sorry, bottle of Sprite is £1.33 from Tesco grocery.
Alright.
Well,
Right, well, it's not that
like,
bad.
a can of Monster full sugar is $1.15 from my local shop on offer. A can of sugar-free Monster is £1.05. So 10p sugar tax, I guess.
Cool.
Cool.
But again,
Oh,
they are promising.
100% fact check.
They are promising no
we're
rise in any of
investigative
that.
journalists.
Yeah.
But have they released a book like the Labour Party has, where it explains in detail how they're funding all of this?
What do you mean? Have they released a physical version of the manifesto?
No. Because the Labour Party, I'm fairly sure, released a separate document from their manifesto, like explaining how all of their policies are going to be funded.
Well, let's wait until we get onto the Labour.
Costings
manifesto
document.
thing
That might be it.
What?
They might have that. Let me get this file real quick.
Well, I mean, we still have like one more point in conservative.
Yes, we do. We're only doing the top priorities. I'm sure that
Download the costings document. That might be it, like you said. Yeah.
I'm sure that Declan will, whenever this gets uploaded, I'll leave a link in the
Put a little
description.
notation on screen.
Well, he'll leave a little description or a notation on the screen.
Smash that like button if you want to read Labour's where the money is coming from for Labour.
Guys, if we can get 10 whole likes, we'll read out the whole Labour manifesto.
Guys, if we can get 10 whole likes, we'll make ASMR manifesto readings before the election.
If we get 10 likes, we will start our own party.
No, don't promise
No.
that.
No, not with 10 likes, no.
We need more likes than that.
Well,
20.
10 times 10.
100 likes.
100 likes.
We start our own party.
So whilst Declan is looking at this, I'll read out the final priority,
Do it.
which is to introduce an Australian-style points-based immigration system,
Yeah.
which treats everyone equally regardless of where they come from.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of ironic if you look from the track record of Boris Johnson.
Oh. Well, and also looking at the track record of Australia.
And of the Tory party in general, you know.
Oh, I like the idea, but I don't know how well
it is
works in
quite
practice.
What was the policy in the 1960s where they said, if you want,
Are you asking me? Because
I will alter the choice of phrasing. If you want a black person for a neighbour, vote Labour. However, if you already have one, vote Conservative.
It's just white people that live on my street.
The message of
And
that,
I'm okay with that. I mean, I won't mind, but you know.
the message of that pledge in the 1960s was to essentially speed up the deportation of black people back home.
Yeah, but that was 1960, bro.
Well, it hasn't really much changed, has
Right,
it?
if we want to look at contemporary
Yeah, but they're
examples,
not
like in
default, you
Australia, look at this that I've just sort of sent for you to have a look at.
Manus Island.
Because this is about asylum seekers heading towards Australia that are being denied entry because of Australia's policy, which is similar to the one that that the Conservatives want to implement, which is leading to many refugees being held on Manus Island, which is in Papua New Guinea.
Oh, it's
it's essentially just a concentration camp.
It's in what people are calling a prison island, a concentration camp, detention facility. And this article here is highlighting the fact that suicide attempts have spiked in the people held on Manus Island. Up to 12 people, apparently, since the election victory earlier this year in the Australian elections.
Brilliant.
Hang on.
So that's the policy that the Conservatives want to implement.
I need to disable my ad block real quick. It's not letting me read it.
Another thing to
Oh, fuck's
add.
sake. I disabled it and it's still fucking coming up with it.
Another thing to add about this points-based immigration system is that it relates to the NHS.
Yeah, the fact that those 50,000 nurses, so many of them are supposed to be
Immigrants.
immigrant, yeah.
Not
Yeah.
a
The
bad
fact that
thing.
they've-
However, it doesn't sort out the issue that the NHS presently has.
Which is
They are poorly funded,
chronic underfunding, yeah.
very strained with resources.
Wait times are ridiculous.
And it all comes down to the central issue that they don't receive enough funding.
And
Yeah.
by adding more, then it's just going to become worse.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're throwing more staff
An underfunded system.
into a system that can barely stretch itself to pay the wages of those that are already working for it, and expecting that to resolve the issue.
And it won't.
No.
I mean, yes, sure, the Conservatives are saying £20 billion in additional funding for the NHS in England. But will that be enough? Or do you need to go beyond that?
It doesn't. It doesn't. When you think of how many GP appointments they're promising and how many
50
nurses
million.
they're promising, the
Mhm.
numbers don't seem to add up.
No.
Because for a system that's struggling, I think extra funding should just be left at that, and there shouldn't be any extra strains being put on if we can help it. Because it needs the NHS needs time to recover.
It does.
It needs time to get back on its feet before
Before we
we
start
try to expand it
bringing in
further. Yeah.
more people, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how long's that gonna take, you know?
God knows. God knows.
A decade. It could take a
Yeah.
decade.
Or decades.
Mm.
Yeah, I won't
'Cause-
say decades. I'd say decade. Singular.
Yeah. Well, the
Well,
problem has been happening for multiple years now,
Mm.
and it coincides with multiple conservative governments. You know, I'm not saying there's a trend there, but that's
Well, they have.
just the truth.
They've been in power for almost 10 years now, and
Yeah, and the NHS problem has only spiraled.
they can't
It
exactly
hasn't gotten any
blame.
better.
They can't exactly blame anyone else when they're the ones in power.
No.
That's true.
Well, with all the top priorities for the Conservative Party covered, I think we should move on to the Labour Party.
Yo, it's the Labour Party and it's really rad. The leaves Jeremy Corbyn. It's really rad.
And that makes some people sad.
For some reason,
does.
because socialism is still this
People sad.
demonized thing, which is ridiculous.
I don't understand it
I
enough
mean-
to have any real verdict on that. I am the dum-dum that just listens to heavy metal all day.
Yes, we thank you for your addition into the last podcast with Metal Madness.
Yeah, there's a
Something-
reason why
Oh,
that
that was
was
good.
Something which is never being added again.
Yeah, I
Well,
think there's a reason
I think
why
it
that
could be
podcast
added
has
with-
less views.
I think it could be added again with
With me knowing what the fuck I'm
rework,
on about.
heavy reworking. Yeah.
Okay. The first top priority for the Labour Party
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Well,
Go on,
we
say it.
all. It's to hold another referendum on Brexit.
Boo.
Well,
Don't want that.
it's a bit different though because it's
No,
supposed to be.
yeah, it's
agree-
not-
There's more to it than just
There
holding
is
another
more to it than
referendum
They
because
want to
it's-
renegotiate.
They want to
It's
renegotiate
written
and
there.
have a deal, a solid deal in place. They're estimating it take around 2 years.
Yeah, it's
It's
written in
before-
plain text. I don't like the idea.
Before they hold a referendum. So if Leave wins again, we have a deal that can be enacted immediately afterwards rather than this mess that we've gotten ourselves
but
into for the past
there's
3
a
years.
chance that Leave might not win, and then everything for the past God knows how long has
Will have been for
complete
nothing,
waste
yeah.
of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse though.
But again, like we discussed with the Conservatives, you don't know whether they're going to be able to actually pass the deal or not.
Mm-hmm.
No.
There's no guarantees there.
No,
I could see that. I don't know why, but I could see Labour, like, if they were to get a landslide, to make a really shitty deal, and be like, guys, do you want to leave with this shitty deal that's gonna fuck the country up, or do you want to stay? And everyone's gonna be like, well, can't
I
really
don't
leave
think-
with that, can we?
Here's the thing that you don't realise is that Corbyn, back in the 80s,
He's a leaver.
was an outspoken Eurosceptic.
And he probably still
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Probably even within his own party.
Mm.
Yeah, but then it brings into the question of, is he a fit leader if he can't?
If he
Even-
can't bring his party into line,
Yeah.
and then we bring into the question the fact that British politics has turned into a system where party leaders are seen as presidential by the public,
Yeah.
but the system doesn't work like that. You know, party leaders doesn't have that much control.
No.
Not nearly enough to bring every single person in your party into line with the way that the party leader thinks.
I mean,
Unless you
Johnson
purge
tried it,
it.
didn't
Unless you
Tried.
purge the party. And then
Tried.
you end up
He
with
tried.
he? He
and then you
tried.
end up with a negative 37 majority.
Yeah.
Type of thing I'd end up with.
Also,
If you
known as
don't like
not
it, then get out
majority.
now. Yeah, it isn't.
But-
Someone gonna
Guys-
tell him that.
Like, you know, like if like you spent like £1,000, but you didn't have any money. You're like, guys, I've got minus £1,000. Don't worry, I'm not in debt. It's just a majority of a minus 1,000.
like that guy that like invested like $5,000 and it ended up losing like 50,000.
Yeah.
I love that video.
Guys, I've not made a loss. I've just made a gain of negative 5,000. All right.
Technically, you didn't lose anything. Apart from that initial investment.
But when this referendum comes, Labour, well, Corbyn has said that the official stance of the Labour Party is neutrality.
Yeah, it would be a neutral one.
But
However, he is not saying that individual ministers
Can't argue their own
Can't.
side.
campaign their own side, which makes sense to me.
can we just imagine the average mentality of the Labour voter in how they would vote for a referendum? The second referendum for Brexit.
Not every Labour voter is a Remainer.
No, that's true.
Yeah, but
It depends how left-leaning you are.
yeah.
And then again,
I'm just
most
thinking
people,
back to high school, you know.
most
Right.
people, right? Most people that prioritise remaining over any other policy will shift the focus to the Lib Dems because they're the
Yeah.
only party that are openly voting to remain.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine doing that. Not to discredit, you are free to vote whichever way you want.
Yes,
I
course you
just
are.
have my own outspoken opinions.
Green Party.
well, we'll get on to them at some point.
My local MP put through the well, no, not my MP, but those standing in the constituency put through their little manifesto today.
Oh yeah.
Good old
Isn't
Matt
it the
Edwards.
Greens? Yeah,
Oh,
the Greens by you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
no, it's Labour, but Labour don't put anything through. Like,
Yeah.
the Greens actually make a conscious effort to be like, hey guys, should maybe vote for us.
I
That's
got.
And then
Good
no
way
one
for
does.
Labour, don't you think?
Yeah.
You know
The
what we
Labour
got
Party
in post?
dedicated to the Green movement.
yeah.
I got a fly through from Tracy Brabin, so at least Labour's making an effort here.
Hey, we've got all sorts for our post.
I've only got Conservative, so.
We had this fake newspaper.
What?
Excuse me? Was it boingboing.com again?
No, it wasn't
Boingboing.com.
You were, I think you were conservative.
Oh,
yeah.
Or at
fact
least
check
it's-
UK.
Oh, this
Fact
is-
check UK.
No, it was like
Uh,
I don't know what it was. I'll have to have a look later. But we had that. We had this thing from. I mean, it's not a real political party, but it looked like it was Lib Dems, but it was actually like Stop Hate UK or something.
Right.
oh, okay.
And it was like, don't vote for Tories unless you are racist. Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we also got something from Labour.
Stop
enough.
Hate UK is an actual thing, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but obviously they're not a political party.
No, they're not,
They're a-
which is.
they're NGO.
I believe they're an NGO.
Yeah.
Something that I don't care about. Declan, if you
Pardon?
add a laugh track there.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
Hey,
Sure will.
hey, editor.
I need something to make me seem more funny.
Yeah.
But
You know, with the fact check UK thing,
Yeah.
it just reminds me of the meme. You know, I pulled a sneaky on you.
I pulled a sneaky on you there.
yeah.
You thought we were impartial, but actually we were Tories the whole time.
Yeah.
so what's your
Imagine if we,
thoughts?
fact checked Tories.
guys, trust us. It's fact check 100%.
What's our thoughts on Corbyn's proposed idea
Which one?
for a second
I
referendum?
think we should have another referendum on whether to hold a referendum on having a second referendum.
Did someone actually go for that though?
What?
Did someone actually propose that though?
It's
I don't
like,
know, maybe.
I mean, right, if it did eventually happen,
hmm
I guess I'd have to vote in it.
Yes, you
Yeah,
would.
you probably would.
We
Yeah.
all would.
State
And-
enforced
and-
voting.
Once again, I would vote leave.
Yay!
Well, I didn't
we're not
vote- I didn't-
cancelling each other out.
I didn't vote leave the first time because I was too young, but
I voted leave
Whoa.
in the fake election that we had. It was a fake referendum that we had.
you had a fake referendum.
Yeah, we had a fake referendum because it was Mr. Jones who wanted to know which one of us were dirty leavers, and I was
Ah.
dirty leavers.
that is reducing the whole point of our democracy.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a secret ballot, he's not holding a democratic
Well, it's
referendum.
like it was supposed to be secret, but we had to write his name on it.
That's not a secret ballot.
I mean, you could probably work it out from handwriting.
It's going back to the 1850s where it'd be a case of you stand up on a
You start up, yeah,
On a
and you
box.
shout who you
and
declare
you,
to vote
and
for.
you decree,
Yeah.
I am voting for the Whigs.
Can you
Okay.
imagine standing up and decreeing that I am voting
Decreeing.
for UKIP,
Oh Lord.
and then you get assaulted.
Voting for the monster raving Liberty Party. I vote.
The next priority for Labour would be a £400 billion National Transformation Fund,
That's all I
Jesus
wanted.
Christ, that's a lot of money.
including £250 billion for energy, transport and the environment,
How are they
100
dividing that? I don't
and
know.
£150 billion for schools, hospitals and housing.
Oh,
Hmm.
real quick, I forgot. The Tories
Mm-hmm.
promised
Yes.
to put like a big chunk of money, like something billion, into improving like rail networks in the north between Leeds and Manchester.
HS2. HS2.
HS3.
HS3.
HS2 is the one down south.
Oh, HS3.
Yeah, HS3.
HS3.
I go Huddersfield to Manchester.
Yeah, because Johnson was like, I don't like HS2, but HS3. Oh my god, the best. Love it.
It's a bigger number, so it must be better.
But I was surprised when I was reading it because I'm like, oh my god, they do realise that England is more than
The
just
North
London.
exists.
What?
We are up here. We do exist.
Peasants. They live in the north. They live in the north.
What is it, PK running?
Peasants
In my country, up north.
Oh, absolutely disgusting.
Disgusting.
Let's set up another border. Keep them out. Don't need
Is this the way to the north?
them.
Oops, I
Is
got
this the way to Amarillo?
Jimmy Savile was in that video.
Oh, he really was.
Yeah, he was. He was.
He was.
Comic relief. Is this the way to Amarillo? You can see
Yeah.
Jimmy Savile
You
repeat.
can. You can.
He is in
Well,
that.
yeah, but we
He
didn't want
is.
to admit that though, did they?
They didn't want to admit to it. No, not until he died, at least.
No.
Well, it's like you know that guy out of Sex Pistols,
Mhm.
like way back in like the 80s or whatever. Like he did an interview and he's like, yeah, Jimmy Savile's the wrong one. But didn't
Really?
Is that
Believe
that
it.
Morrissey?
No, this is Sex Pistols, not Smiths.
Oh,
Can we
Yeah,
get back
regardless,
to the
Sex
topic at
Pistols
hand,
talking
please?
about-
topic at hand, Labour.
So there's
400 billion,
400 billion pounds for a national transformation
which
fund.
is coming from.
Increased taxation on the top 5% of people.
How big an increase?
How big it is? I'm not entirely sure about that. I did see a website which detailed it precisely. Oh, good lord.
There's a new 50% rate, like flat taxation on those who earn above 125,000 a year. I don't know about the rest of them. You know, like people that earn over like 80,000.
Well, that is where the majority of it would come from.
I've just seen a value Labour policy here.
Wrong.
Free bus travel for anyone under 25.
Oh,
I like
brilliant.
I like
Yeah.
that. Me likey.
Me likey.
Me likey a lot. To be fair, like, Bray been around this, she wants to increase, or at least improve, public transport in the local area.
God, I wish we had some improvements.
Which I'm like, that's a really good thing, because, like, the buses around here is shit, let's be fair.
Yeah, the garbage
I
everywhere.
would like some more routes to take the strain off the existing ones.
Yeah.
Just more efficient travel. That'd be really, really nice.
Yeah, there's always like whenever there's traffic, there's always like no buses will come, and then there'll be like 5. They'll all turn up at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of beyond a joke when
if there were
public
more
transport
routes.
is a necessity for some people.
Yeah.
Yes, this money will be coming from increased taxation and also, like the Conservatives, borrowing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, some more.
Both parties intend to borrow. I'm not entirely sure the amount. But there is a consistent Conservative lie that is being spread,
Which is
that every family in the United Kingdom will see a tax increase of £2,400 under a Labour government.
a complete lie, because
It
not
is a
everybody
complete
earns
lie.
that much.
Yeah.
It's a complete lie. It's a slander campaign as the election, isn't it? So.
Well, you know, it's another fact check UK, because they love them.
Yeah, they keep bringing up that number, which is baffling to me.
I'm assuming that it comes up somewhere and they've decided to just go, yeah, that's flat.
Yeah, it'll
flat
came up somewhere for like the lowest of the top earners, and they'll have decided to apply it for the rest of the population, I assume.
There was a man on A Question Time
Oh, we're going to talk about this guy.
Yeah, I absolutely love this man.
And he was like, guys,
Declan,
this isn't a debate.
Declan, I would very much appreciate if you were to leave a link to this video in the description.
I thought you were just going to leave it at Declan. I would very much
Yeah,
appreciate if you
yeah,
were to leave.
I was
No.
gonna have to leave the.
If you could leave this video in the description of the channel of the video, because it just shows the amount of the lack of understanding that's going on. So, well, I'm sure everyone will watch that video.
All 5 viewers.
But we get more than that.
Yeah, we're doing like really good.
Yeah, really good.
So another
100 big views.
Another policy is £75 billion for 100,000 new council homes a year by 2024, and 50,000 affordable homes a year through housing associations.
Is this affordable to buy or affordable to rent?
It says affordable homes, is what it says here.
So
Could-
that's like buying a house.
I assume it'll be buying, yes.
That's,
Oh, yeah, and then he claims that every doctor earns over £80,000 a year.
Oh, you learn about the video.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
watching it.
You're a bit behind here, Joe.
Sorry, I just sort of spaced out a bit while watching the video.
Oh,
But this guy, right, that earns over £80,000 a year, who claims to not even be in the top 50% of earners in the country,
Top
which is a complete
5%.
lie. You know, but he says, I'm not in the top 5%, and then he goes on to say, I'm not even in the top 50%. Yeah.
Mhm.
He also claims that, like, every single doctor in this country earns over £80,000 a
It's
year,
not true.
which is so incredibly out of touch. It seems like
Yeah.
a joke.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's ridiculous. The basic salary of a doctor in the United Kingdom is £27,000,
Yeah.
but with a maximum of £32,000.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I wish I
I've got no idea what that guy is doing to earn so much money, but
He's an employee.
yeah, I
him.
mean, I guess that he is an employee because he's got a job.
Yeah.
Well, he'll own some kind of company.
He's doing that stock investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not losing it all.
So that's another policy, the housing. One thing that the Conservative top priorities didn't mention is that both Labour and Conservatives are trying to get fibre broadband for every home and business. in
The way they're
US.
going about it, though, is different.
Yes, that's true.
I didn't know Conservative also wanted that.
Yes, the
It's-
that is the uh, I'll let Joseph explain. He seems to understand it better than me. Or apparently not.
Yeah, I understand how Labour want to go about it, but the way the Conservatives are going about it is to just invest in infrastructure, which I don't know what that entails. Maybe they want to attract more foreign investors. The way I understand it, and I might be wrong, is that the way that the Conservatives are going about it will ensure that pretty much everywhere, like wherever you are, depending on geographical region, will have access to fibre, like decent speeds.
Mhm.
However, you're still going to have to foot the bill for that.
Yeah.
With Labour's policy of renationalising certain parts of British Telecom and their lines, that means that some of the poorest in this country will be able to have access, to the internet and to be able to do things on there, which is an issue because things like registering to vote have become less accessible for those who are impoverished because it's a lot harder to do it through physical paper means, and it's just more generally accessible online. But the quality of those connections may not be as good because a lot of them may be just your generic broadband lines. So I suppose it depends on your outlook on that, really. But to me, as time progresses, technological and internet access is becoming more and more of a necessity for every citizen of this country.
Oh yeah. Like
As things transition to a digital medium, it becomes more and more vital for every person in this country to have basic access.
Yeah.
Just like your other amenities, like your water and your food.
The way I see it is, as long as they have the option to not be, like, deal with this nationalised broadband, that's decent.
Yeah. And one of the arguments that Labour uses is that broadband is, in essence, a natural monopoly.
Yeah.
I don't know what the statistics are, but, you look into getting a broadband package these days, and you're either buying from a company that is owned by an umbrella company, or you're buying from the umbrella company itself, which is either Virgin or BT.
Oh,
There is no real competition in that market, not anymore.
No.
Is Talk something to do with BT?
I believe so, and so's PlusNet.
I'll have a quick-
Even if they're not, they have to use either Virgin
Yeah, they have to
Virgin
use those
Fibre
lines.
or the BT lines. There's
Yeah,
no other option.
the infrastructure is built by those two corporations.
I mean,
So that means that there is no real competition in that market. So as much as the Conservatives would like to say that there is growth in that sector, there just isn't. Not anymore.
I don't suppose you know how much it'd cost. This,
No, I don't know how much it'd cost, no.
because I'd imagine it'd cost a lot if it is every single home.
Well, they're saying
It's for the homes that don't already have basic access,
Yeah.
essentially.
But
So,
it's
so
this isn't an immediate investment.
no.
This is over the next 11 years we're talking
Yeah.
about.
However, with Labour, it's renationalising BT, and
Yeah, it's
Which-
focused solely on British Telecom because we have at least some purchase over them still.
It's also planning to renationalise Royal Mail.
yeah,
Is that,
which will be a cheaper
Wait.
takeover than BT.
wait,
Yes.
is that not
Yes.
what we need?
Yeah.
No,
I've-
Royal Mail is privatised.
Royal
Yeah,
Mail were privatised by
privatised.
the Conservatives.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
I
the
just
recent memory as well.
receive packages that I don't send them.
Yeah.
Get my heavy metal in the post. Actually, no. But next package is DHL, but it might be going through Royal Mail.
The final.
Well, you know how that goes.
Okay, thank you, Avia.
You
The
are-
final, one of the final top priorities, well, the final top priority for the Labour Party is a £10 an hour minimum wage for
Well, it's
Oh.
not a minimum wage; it's a basic living wage.
basic living wage. Yes.
But it's listed here as
Yeah, it's listed as a minimum wage because they'll raise it from £8.21 upwards.
Yeah.
sounds
I
pretty
don't
nice
know.
to me.
I don't know how they've calculated that figure as a living wage.
It's because it is 10, and like
It is a nice
it's
round
nice
number.
and round.
that's pretty much it, really.
You know, I'm gonna hate it when it comes in and Freddos go up in price yet again. Fucking Freddos, man. I remember when you used to be able to buy them and they were dirt cheap, and now for a little bit of chocolate,
No, you still can if you look around.
it's too much. It's too much for
No, you
Freddos.
Well, I know the FPI. I know the FPI is going to go up, right? The Freddo price index.
The Freddo price index.
But you've got to consider whether it's for a good reason or not.
The thing is, though, is that everything will scale with it, though. Because it's like, oh look, everyone earns more, so now surely everything else can go up in price.
That is the argument used, yeah.
Yeah,
And it is because corporations,
Yeah.
you know, profits are the bottom line.
Yeah, I don't want it to end up being like bloody Germany, where it's like, guys, we're walking around with lots of cash.
Yeah,
but
but
my wheelbarrow of cash can buy one.
Don't worry,
one
your
loaf
loaf of bread won't cost £100
Yeah, but
by this time next year. Don't worry, it's just not.
Imagine how cool it would be to like build a house out of money.
What, and then like tear it down years later when hyperinflation has sorted itself out?
Yeah.
You're a shit dude.
Right. Let us move on to
Brexit.
our favourite party,
Don't claim that.
the Liberal Democrats.
Oh,
Boo.
yeah, like don't claim that either.
You couldn't
We are
play the
all-
Price is
because-
Right, losing
Because
fame.
we are all voting for the Liberal Democrats, aren't we?
No.
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 Once again,
What?
you can vote for whoever you want to.
Yeah, it's my vote, my choice, my body.
Can we
Okay.
bleep that, Declan? Can we bleep that? That was an edgy joke.
My cross.
Well, the thing is though, is that with him saying that, it just reminded me that the Conservatives are going to remove VAT from female sanitary products. So
Are there? Oh.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
there you
good.
go.
I know it was. I don't, like they've not used it like at all, but in their spending, it does say removal of the VAT from.
I mean, if they were to come out like and start campaigning on removal of the tampon tax,
They'd probably get more votes. Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
I didn't even know that was a thing that they were doing.
But no, they are focusing solely on let's get Brexit done.
Yeah.
Complete opposite of Liberal Democrats.
Let's not get Brexit done.
Who, as their first and top priority, wish to stop Brexit in its entirety?
Which the party argues, this is word for word from the website, which the party argues will release money to be spent on public services over the next 5 years. It's that 50 billion bonus that we were talking about, which I have not a clue where they've got that figure from.
No.
You
Don't
see,
even ask me.
with the amount of funding that's going to go into campaigning for
How? Yeah, it
for-
does beg the question: how much time and how much money has been lost that we could spend on
Yeah.
domestic policy?
yeah.
Definitely.
Smash that like button if you have an opinion on the
Smash that like button if you are a Liberal Democrat.
DM us. Okay, we'd like to have you on the podcast.
I mean, what do we think of this?
Bad.
Well, it's stopping Brexit.
I mean,
Bad.
Can you see the
They're not-
justification
they're
for
not-
it?
I don't
Yes.
see where this 50 billion
No.
pound bonus is coming from.
No.
I don't
No,
see it.
neither do I. It's.
Right.
I think it's a figure pulled from their arse, to be honest.
whoa.
It's so.
Are you calling us a liar,
Oh,
Daniel?
we said the words an ass. I think they just want to get Brexit not done.
None.
Just,
Yeah, it's
then
true.
just so then they can say, "Ah, look what we did."
It's
We didn't do
the
Brexit.
opposite. It's the opposite angle to every mainstream party,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can see why they're going for it. But at the same time, I don't want them to go for it.
I feel.
Realistically, they're not going to win.
No,
Like, no.
We're not going to wake up December 13th and see
to have a Liberal Democrat
a Liberal
landslide
Democrat
majority.
government of 326 seats.
Right. If
No.
they win, I will cry. If they lose, I will.
Laugh.
Right,
Insert
it's
laughing
joy.
traffic here.
Like laughing trough.
Laughing traff. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I feel like their like manifesto is like, guys, we're not gonna do anything. So when you vote us in, you can't complain that we've not completed our manifesto. Guys, we've stopped Brexit. Alright, what'd you do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Just stop doing it.
You remember the Conservatives' plans for the NHS?
Yeah.
It appears here that the Liberal Democrats are doing that for schools.
Well,
Right.
It
And
says recruit
also the
20,000
NHS.
more teachers and increase school funding by 10.6 billion a year by 2024 through 2025.
Isn't this once again just more or less replacing teachers lost
I
through
suppose the
austerity?
I suppose the time scale is more
Yeah.
Realistic?
Yeah, it's more realistic. Yeah, it's longer at least.
This is the same like policy that got them into the
Coalition.
government, though, isn't it?
I suppose so.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
like,
education.
why broke? Not broke, don't change it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even though they completely screwed over the education system when they were in office.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
God, don't we just love the Lib Dems?
No one does.
Well, I'm sure some people do.
Liberal, Democrats,
it's okay.
neither of which they are.
Right, next podcast we're gonna have Joe Swinson on. It's gonna be
Yeah, let's reach
Yeah.
out to Joe
No.
Swinson's PR team.
If Joe
we can't have
Swinson
Joe
does,
Swinson.
if Joe Swinson wishes to join the podcast, then
DM me, email me, please.
Joe
that'd
Swinson.
actually be mental though.
it would.
We don't have
We
to play,
could
guys.
talk-
We're all voting Liberal Dems,
We
right?
could talk. Right, if she was about, we could talk for 2 hours on the only policy which is worth anything, which is to introduce a legal, regulated market for
cannabis.
recreational cannabis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
That is one of their policies.
I'll be like,
That's
yeah,
what was
Joe
running on.
They're also pledging.
Joe Swinson passed the booth.
They're also pledging £20 billion a year for 5 years to tackle climate change.
That is a lot of money.
That is a lot of money, and where is it coming from? No one knows.
From stopping Brexit, you dumb.
Oh yeah,
God.
true. Germany's
It's
just
almost
gonna give us it all.
It's
Yeah,
almost like you've not been paying attention.
Yeah,
No.
that was half of it. Where's the
Also,
other half?
also, they're increasing tax by 1 penny.
On
Income
Everyone.
tax. Income tax.
Everyone.
In general.
1p for everyone.
Yep.
Including me,
Yep.
which doesn't pay tax because I don't earn anything.
Whoa,
Joe Swinson's
you
gonna
wa-
come
you alright
over
there,
to your
Yoshi?
house. Joe Swinson's gonna come over to your house, beat you up, and take 1 penny from you.
Bro, I'm gonna mug you. I've only got a penny on me. That's all I need.
that's all I need.
Hit me up on PayPal. Give me 1 penny to pay Joe.
Doesn't even- that won't
Swinson
even work.
podcast.
No, hold on.
You can't even send a penny because
penny
PayPal will
in-
be like,
A penny
Yes.
rise in income tax to invest in healthcare and social care, allowing the NHS budget to be increased by £26 billion a year.
I don't see how that works. I do not see how that works.
yes,
No.
obviously there's 26 billion people that work in the UK. Are you dumb or something?
The population of the United Kingdom, 66 million people. These are...
Wait, 26 billion people aren't even alive.
I don't see where your issue lies there. That maths adds up to me.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure they're borrowing from Diane Abbott. Diane can see her for this one.
Listen, Joe
Even
Swinson,
right, even with earning the however many millions it would be from this income tax rise, it wouldn't be enough to alleviate the financial strain in order to invest that much money into the NHS annually at that time. It just wouldn't be enough.
Hmm.
Because this is by 2023 through 2024 annually from that point onwards. That's the plan.
Yeah, I don't understand your problem with that. Clearly,
It
we're
doesn't
gonna have
add up.
there's gonna be some baby boomer shit going on. Everyone's just gonna be bored, and there's gonna be 26 billion people living in the UK.
Yeah.
No, the maths does not add up at all.
Joe Swinson, we would like to have words with the person who did the maths for you.
Unless-
I think you find it's just me.
Unless
It
we're
appears
just
that Diane
understanding it wrong.
Abbott's just
She's a cross-party.
cross-party mathematician.
Yeah, she's a public service now.
She's like an omnipresent.
What have we nationalised Diane Abbott? Is that what's going on?
Yes.
She just has 3 zeros onto everything.
you
can actually
know,
recruit 20 more teachers.
can I get her to write me like a maths essay, please?
Can I get her to write me a check, please?
So Diane, you're gonna give me £10, right? Yeah.
Yes, of course, yes.
That's 10 with 3 zeros, right?
Yes.
10 followed by 3 zeros.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's £10.
I
Okay,
think
there
I
you
want to get
go.
up 3 on there just to be safe.
you never know.
And so the final priority of the Liberal Democrats would be a £130 billion
That's a lot of
investment into
money.
infrastructure.
That's a lot of money. It also doesn't say where it's going. At least the
Infrastructure.
Conservatives and the Labour one said that it was going to, like public transport,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
rail, things like that. This infrastructure.
The strange
Yeah.
thing is, right, about where they're getting this money from.
Is
They're reducing corporation tax.
Wait, what?
it's the same problem
Yeah.
with the
Actually, no,
Conservatives.
sorry,
isn't it?
they are they're increasing it by 1%.
Oh, well then.
They're bringing it-
Well,
Ooh.
that might be enough to keep the corporations in the country, and not force them to leave, but enough to get 130 billion. Very
Well,
doubtful.
Scrap business fits replaced with commercial landowner levy.
it's confusing. I mean, I don't understand how the
If you wanna become the land of the free market, then vote Lib Dem. It seems like.
Yeah. So on to
Brexit means Brexit.
Independent groups change.
are we fine. We shall talk about the Brexit Party, and then we shall talk about the Green Party, and
Then
Move
we
on.
will move on.
We're just ignoring independent group for change.
yes.
They've got like 10 people.
And we're also ignoring
And I
UK.
am all 10.
You are altered. You classify as 10 persons.
So,
When it says 7 persons may enter this lift at any one time, maybe I'd like, nah, sorry, I can't get in that lift.
Oh damn
I
it!
could have to take the stairs now to get to the top.
You get to the top of the stairs, now you're only worth 9 persons.
It looks all that way in just one flight of stairs.
Yeah, just another Daniel Aviard's popped out of the side.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello.
He's waiting. He's waiting.
Time for Metal Madness.
No, no, you fool!
That.
so
Brexit Party.
a top priority for the Brexit Party is obviously to leave all institutions of the European Union and restore the primacy of UK law.
What you've done there, Farage, what you've done there is describe Article 50. You've just described it. That isn't a policy. You've just stolen Article 50.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Genius. Okay. Policy 2.
Was negotiate a free trade agreement with the EU, similar to the deals the bloc has with Canada and Japan, with a new deadline of the 1st of July, 2020.
They spelled block wrong.
No, they did not.
That's how they do it for trade blocks.
The Mr.
What's that?
The
Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
K off block.
The Mr. K, dum dum.
So, they just want to change the deal, don't they?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what Canada.
They just want their deal in
Yeah, they do.
What does Canada and Japan have
with the EU,
with the bloc?
with the European bloc.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not Norway, because Norway's very different.
Yes.
Norway comes in the fact that they pay into the EU. Canada's, I believe. God, I'm not even that sure.
Oh, Mr. Politics. There's no politics.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not like I know anything.
It essentially eliminates 98% of the tariffs between Canada and the EU.
Oh, that sounds Gucci gang.
Fair enough.
Yep.
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 I'd like to
Yep.
import Canada
Right.
to the
It would appear to me.
with the EU and Japan,
Mhm.
there was a deal struck early this year, which scrapped duties, like all duty fees, on 99% of Japanese and European imports, roughly, so to speak. So basically, from that, we get cheaper cars,
Yep.
which are imported from Japan. Japan
Toyota.
gets cheaper wine and cheaper cheese from the EU.
Wow, great deal.
Wensleydale.
Yes. You see, what we need to do is we need to reinvest in the motor industry. We need to get a British Elon Musk to just design us some electric cars.
What Cybertruck?
Yeah. We need Cybertruck, but British.
It's
And
like
then
the
it'd be
Cybertruck.
Gucci, because then we won't have Germany to compete with.
It's just
I mean,
a pyramid on
Cybertruck
wheels.
does essentially look like a tank, and Germany are pretty good at producing those. Haha.
Arguably.
Not very good at utilising it.
If you look at
Just-
German tank history, they aren't actually that good.
I was trying to make a joke, and
I'm
then you had to
sorry.
go and fact check me.
I'm sorry.
Declan allowed him the laugh track, so it doesn't feel bad.
I'll
Thank
do
you.
it. I'll do it.
Okay, the next priority. Effectively, these priorities are mainly focused around Brexit, because why not? Digest.
Hang on.
One specific.
Hang on.
What are you
Hang on.
saying hang on for?
One that isn't related to the EU.
Mhm.
£200 billion spending programme on infrastructure, Wi-Fi and services for young people.
That
Bro, we
sounds
gotta
like-
vote for Brexit Party now, because
Yes.
the gamers.
They are
The gamers.
It sounds like such like a we appeal.
Hello,
to the
fellow
kids.
kids.
Well,
Yeah.
no, if you look at the infrastructure for like Wi-Fi and everything, it's free broadband for those that are in impoverished areas. So it is looking at spending for the poor, which
Yeah.
isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So can I just point something out?
Go on.
The W and the F in Wi-Fi should be capitalized.
Oh, come on.
Oh, filthy.
It's true.
Haha, wireless filers.
Did
Uh,
yeah,
Please don't
like,
add a laugh track for that one. That was unfunny.
I'll just add the farting one again.
the guy who like made Wi-Fi like said it didn't stand for anything.
What, did you just come up with it on the spot or something?
Yeah, it was just like it sounds cool. It's like, it's like hi-fi but Wi-Fi.
Okay, fair enough.
It stands for Winternet Finternet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You better not add laugh track to yourself.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
patting
wow.
yourself on the back. Don't you dare add that laugh track. I can hear it. Don't add it.
You can't hear it. All
Oh.
you're hearing is the soothing sound of smooth jazz.
Mm.
Stop drowning me out,
Mhm.
Mr. Laugh Track. No.
Yeah. Let's talk about Brexit Party's
Other ones that aren't on here.
democracy.
Yes.
They want to replace first past the post,
With a
the
proportional
entire
system.
electoral system for this country with a proportional system.
I'm down for
And
that.
you can tell that was Farage's policy, because he's still butthurt about that time UKIP got however many votes and one seat.
Yeah.
Mhm. That
Um,
was fun.
That
Yeah.
sounds even less likely than Brexit happening.
And
Well,
also
January.
reforming the House of Lords.
We held a referendum on a proportional representation.
Yeah, but it was a shit one. We all
It
know
was
a shit
AV,
one.
wasn't
And
it? It was
no-
AV.
and- Yeah, no one cared about it.
No one cares about alternative vote,
Mm.
Yeah.
so it didn't pass.
Even Nicholas Cleggius was.
Was that back in the Nick Clegg era?
Yeah, he was like a timid a little compromise, didn't he? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
That
do
one?
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in 2011.
No.
Not Nick Clegg.
It feels weird that 2011 was 8 years ago, and it's soon to be 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so old now.
Bro,
Mm.
we're basically
Look,
boomers.
We have a politics where we shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I
That's
don't
it.
I don't care. We have a podcast where we just talk about politics. I mean, I think we classify as boomers.
Hey
now.
Declan, have you seen
Yes.
this image? The one in the- Can you put that on screen, please?
I apologise for making that.
Can you put that on screen?
Declan, if you can put that on in somewhere.
I'm just gonna. That's gonna be there for the entire episode, and people are gonna be like, "What?
No!
What is this?"
In the bottom
No,
right. Put it in the
please
bottom
don't.
right.
No, make it like a DVD screensaver. It'll bounce.
Will
Right.
Farage hit the corner?
Special like boning.
But they want to like total reform, don't they?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
and they want referendums to be held if more than 5 million people sign a petition.
Yeah. No, I think
That
That's-
seems like an easily abusable power.
it
Yeah.
seems abusable, but I think that because what is it like a million signatures, and it gets quote unquote debated in the Commons.
It gets mentioned once. Yeah.
I either read it and go, all right, so Joe Swanson,
Joe Swanson from Essex wants us to make dog food less expensive.
What do we think?
So what do we think? And everyone's just like, It's
Throw
like,
it in the
okay.
bin.
In the bin it goes. All right. Next
Moving on.
one.
What if we were just like one guy shows up at like 3 AM, says, "Yo, about that dog food, eh?" Oh,
So
no,
if
dude,
5
okay.
million people sign it, then it gets turned into a referendum. I suppose.
I think a referendum.
On paper, it would make our democracy more legitimate.
Yeah.
But you've got to think of the potential costs and
Yeah.
the ways that it could be abused and blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Do we
Yeah,
have a way
definitely.
of kicking MPs out of their seats?
Yes.
We do.
If it's called the recall, so like I think it's
Yeah.
10%.
It is just not used. It's used once.
It was used. Yeah, it's been used, but
Yeah.
it's because most
want
MPs
to,
actually stick to their stick and do a good job.
Yeah, but like when you've got a constituency that votes leave and the MP is like, guys, we need to remain, and all they do is enact remain and go completely against the will of the constituency. That's when it's not really democracy anymore, is it?
Fair
It's
enough.
not them acting as representatives. Anyway,
One thing the Brexit Party want to do is to abolish the House of Lords and replace it with an elected second chamber,
Ooh.
kind of like the US Senate.
ooh, that would be a bit dirty.
Yeah, but House of Lords?
Yeah, no,
Are
I
you
agree.
in favour of the House of Lords?
I agree it needs reform, but I wouldn't make it US Part 2.
No.
I don't like the House of Lords. It's just a bunch of old rich dudes with a lot of
They're
money.
appointed.
Yeah.
They're appointed, or they've either had it since time immemorial.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't need any money, child.
I feel like if you make it,
They don't have any real power, and that's their saving grace, really.
yeah, I feel if
Don't
you
have any
make
real power.
if you make it into like you're appointed if you've made like significant contributions towards the country,
Such as the
etc., etc.
So I can imagine under that situation, there'd be David Attenborough,
Yeah.
Stephen Fry.
Can we Right, here's a genuine question. What happens when David Attenborough dies?
National Day of Mourning.
Like,
big-
no more documentaries.
That's true. Well, no, people do make documentaries. It's just that David Attenborough's like good.
Yeah, well, no one's gonna watch them. It's gonna be
Werner Herzog could probably take his place.
Mm.
He's a decent
Alright.
guy. They run penguins to Madagascar.
Okay.
Oh, they were really funny.
Okay,
Should we
back
get back
to the
to?
original one? Yeah. Go on, Joe.
Um,
Continue.
Oh, that's basically all I have to say.
So Attenborough and Stephen Fry.
We would have had Stephen Hawking, but you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Obviously,
yeah.
obviously, Raheem Sterling needs to be there. Am I right?
Harry Kane.
Harry
House of
Kane.
Lords, Harry Kane.
Harry Kane, House of House of Achievers, House of Achievers.
Yeah, House of Meritocracy.
Yo, can we add a PewDiePie saying as he lives in the UK now?
He's moving to Japan, so no.
Weeb.
Wait, he's moving to Japan?
Yeah, he bought a house in Tokyo.
Yeah, but is that not just like so he can go on holiday for cheap?
I'm pretty sure he's gonna move there.
Yeah, damn. Good for him.
Okay. Not
Anyway,
relevant.
green.
Yeah, let's move on to the Greens, and then we can move away from this topic.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what if you're
The
colourblind
Joe
though?
Party.
What?
What if you're colourblind though?
Okay.
I'm so
The
sorry.
Party, the Nature Party, the Leaf Party.
If you want to vote for the Green Party, you are well within your rights to do so as long as you are 18 and live within the UK and are registered to vote.
This is true.
This is true.
100 billion
Yeah, for a decade.
for 10 years. Yeah.
So-
To tackle climate change.
Wait,
Paid for by borrowing.
So that's $1 trillion.
Net.
that,
Yeah. Net.
Right,
But
I'm
plus
already not liking
plus inflation. So
oh,
it'd be more than $1 trillion.
We'd never pay that back. Literally never pay that back.
No,
yeah, so if you want to be £1 trillion,
I mean, I get that like the environment is more.
Yeah.
It
Very
is worth
important.
more than material goods.
but
Yes.
£1 trillion?
£1 trillion in 10 years.
Yeah, it's a bit excessive, really.
Why
Good
don't we
lord.
donate that to Team Trees?
And again,
Yeah.
like the UK isn't. The UK is obviously a part of the problem, but it's not one of the major contributors
No.
to pollution per year.
Looking at you, America.
And India and China. And,
China.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Net zero carbon emissions in the UK by 2030, which both the Conservatives and Labour have
Are also
some form of
have some
net
sort
zero.
of policy on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Pursue a Green New Deal, including a
Labour
structural
has
transformation.
that as well.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own Green New Deal.
Create more than 1 million new jobs through green investment. Okay,
Okay.
we're all going to
I
be
can't-
gardeners.
I kind of like that plan though. To be fair, if we can find,
Yeah, if it works.
if we can work in new industry
Yeah.
that has a more green, you know, symbiotic kind of relationship with the planet, while creating new jobs, that sounds good. That sounds good.
I'd be down to get paid to
You
like,
see,
plant trees
I
and all
feel like a party needs to subsidise research into greener technology and also teaching of
There
students.
should be an international effort,
Yeah, an international effort. Yeah, but I mean,
an
like,
international effort to subsidise global
yeah,
research and education into these sort of issues.
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Probably will never happen though.
What happened?
But,
Oh, no.
but we're talking about in a perfect world sort of
perfect
world. Yeah.
situation.
In a perfect world, we'd already have all this sorted.
In a perfect world, this wouldn't have been an issue in the first place.
Yeah.
No.
You know?
Unless they introduce a People's Vote bill to implement another referendum on Brexit, and they're
What?
gonna campaign to remain.
Fucking hell.
Well, at least they've shown that they're biased.
At least they've picked a side.
Yeah. I'll give him credit for that. The rest of it is just not good.
I mean, Corbyn's
This-
position on it isn't that bad, you know.
this
Not
just
picking a
did-
side is quite smart.
Yeah, this just in, Tony Blair says that this general election is the weirdest in his lifetime.
Oh, we don't care about Tony Blair. We can.
Oh, he's a goblin. If
Go
you see
away,
him
you little
days, he
goblin.
looks like a little goblin.
Yeah, but he's like the first Prime Minister that I remember.
He's the first Prime Minister to be a prick
to do
in
a
our
bad
lifetimes.
job.
Yeah. However, he did say that both parties, like the Tories and
Haha, I'm Tony Blair and I'm a centrist now.
are peddling two sets of fantasies, which I can see that argument.
Tony
But-
Blair, if you would like to be on the podcast and describe your...
Tony Blair, if you would like to come on the
DM
podcast and try and justify yourself as not being a war criminal,
Imagine how much of a shit show that would be. We'd just be playing like AC-130 sounds in back.
and Tony Blair, the information they gave me to invade Iraq was wrong. Guys, I apologise. I'm sorry.
Every episode we just like send an invite to a random politician.
We should get Corbyn for a start.
Yes.
Yeah,
thing is, though, it'd actually, like,
time out of
probably
his
be
day
down
to do
with it.
this.
Oh, you probably would.
I don't want him changing my mind, though.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay, right. Can you put that on the screen as well, Declan?
Yeah, I'll put that one up.
Yeah, put that. Just flash that for like a
Yeah.
second.
Ends up just being a collage.
I'm sorry. I'll stop looking
I'll-
for
I'll
Nigel
li-
for a joke.
Looking funny.
I'll
No.
leave them on the screen. When they show up, they'll just sit there until the end. So anyway, another
Are we
set of
moving on
elections.
to the general election now?
Onto the Hong
Is it-
Kong elections. It's
Oh,
an election extravaganza episode.
Declan,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
can I get a special request?
What's that?
Can we get one of the Nigel Farages to cover Dan's face and another one to cover my face?
No,
Yes. Yes.
no, please. I hate the man. I dislike the man.
Yeah, we are a completely neutral podcast.
Yeah, we do not have an agenda.
No.
Yeah,
No,
we
we
are open
don't.
to all politicians.
My
being
agenda.
on our
My
podcast.
agenda
Not
is
It's
yours.
for there to be
not
no
having
agenda.
an agenda. That is my agenda.
That's a good
As-
one.
As long as you're not a Nazi.
Yeah.
But if you're a Nazi, that's you do you, man.
Because I'm a centrist and I ignore blatant human rights violations. Because I'm so much of a centrist.
Speaking of violating human rights,
Ooh,
Okay, yeah, let's
good
move on. Let's
segue.
move on.
Hong Kong again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Third time is the charm.
Yes.
Even though this will
Um,
probably be a recurring issue.
They had an election.
Yeah.
Yes,
They did.
And to, well, no one's surprise,
The pro-democracy
the pro-democracy camp won.
did the big win.
Can't believe it.
I mean, the thing is though that whilst this is a victory for pro-democracy, it shows Beijing that Vietnam isn't going to just push over this whole integration. From my understanding, it's not that serious of an election.
No, it's probably not going to change anything, but it does show a
No,
big...
in more that it's just like it's just a district council election.
Yeah,
Like this one.
but it's fingers up to China, isn't it?
moving
yeah.
forwards, if the will of the Hong Kong people is
Respected.
respected and it holds out, then that's a good sign. That's a good sign.
It's
It
a
is.
start.
It is a start. It's a start.
The question now is, what happens after this?
Yeah, the question is what happens moving forwards and how will how will Beijing respond? You know?
Probably by violating some human rights.
Again.
Yeah.
Perhaps kidnapping the leaders of pro-democracy camps.
Yeah.
you know, it's anyone's guess with the tyrannical regime of China.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant. You know, it's around 60% of all the votes went to the pro-democracy, compared to 2015's election, where Beijing seemed to win outright.
Yeah.
Who voted for pro-Beijing? Just out of curiosity.
What this time around? Oh.
Yeah, this time around, I'm not supposed to know about the.
Well, there's a map here.
I don't know. It was a massive landslide on it.
There's a
Yeah.
map showing the various constituencies of Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's
And
like all down
what-
south. There's,
What?
like-
Yeah, so it's just the southern bits. I don't know what to call them. I'm going to be honest. I'm completely ignorant on that front.
Yeah.
Probably, I imagine, because they're probably further away from.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're further away from the protests and all
Yeah.
the
For not like
violent action.
Yeah.
They are the Lancashire of Hong Kong.
One thing, like, you know, with the election that I really didn't appreciate was when the BBC were covering it, and they seemed to side, because it was like, oh, police are gonna have to shut it down because of all the violence and everything that's going on. Made it seem like they weren't shooting to kill at some points.
yeah,
I'm like,
the
you
police.
can't side with the police on this one. This is a human rights issue.
Yeah, like I was watching Sky News today
Yeah.
about it, and they were just like, yeah, it's like peaceful protests at the moment.
It says that they, as in Beijing,
Yeah.
they retained control of only the Islands district. So that was the constituency that they won.
Ah.
So that's that bit on the map.
Fair enough. That is probably, like we said, because they are further away.
Mm.
I mean, do the protests continue from here?
It's
maybe.
most likely that they will.
Continue until the end of time.
Oh,
It'll be a continuous thing until the demands are actually, you know, addressed in any
Yeah.
form.
Well, one of them has been addressed.
What, this vote itself?
No, not this vote.
What?
We covered it in a previous. We actually covered it in the last podcast.
Did we know? That
Yeah,
shows how much I've been paying attention.
shows the gap between these two. Let me see if I can find it again.
Okie dokie.
Oh, we wait.
Oh, the withdrawal of the bill.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, yeah.
The withdrawal of the actual bill that was done, yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind, no bonus feature for you.
Well, sorry, you gotta work quicker, you know?
Smash that like button if you want a bonus feature.
But to cover the goals again. So the full withdrawal of the extradition bill, which has been done. The retraction of the characterization of the protests as riots. The release and exoneration of arrested protesters. An independent commission of inquiry into police behaviour. Universal suffrage for Legislative Council and Chief Executive elections. The resignation of Carrie Lam, who is the MP, shall we say, for the region.
It's well, hang on. The chief executive.
Yes. And the dissolution and reorganisation of the Hong Kong police force.
The way it works for the chief committee, who represents the interests of Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
is that they're appointed by a 1,200 member committee, and it's the councillors who get to choose 117 of their number to sit on that committee when the time comes, and that new decision is set to be made in 2022. The landslide means that those 117 seats are likely to go to pro-democracy candidates, so it might swing the decision one way or the other. Might, but again, it's only 117 out of 1,200 members, and the rest of those committee will most likely be appointed by Beijing and those on the side of Beijing.
Most likely.
Yeah. So really, in reality, this vote is mostly symbolic. But as we said, it's a start.
It is a start, and we'll see if it actually goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll be sticking with the story, I'm pretty sure.
We're not just going to give up on it out of nowhere.
No.
When we're like 60, we'll be talking about Hong Kong.
Well, it's probably an event that'll.
I remember it.
It's like, hello guys, and welcome to the All In Podcast episode 1792.
I remember in episode 3 when we said we'd be in this exact same place.
We talked about Hong Kong.
We weren't wrong, were we? Fellow boomers.
We never got Joe Swinson on
Jeremy Corbyn came on before
Before he kicked the bucket.
Oh, that's gonna happen one day.
Yeah, I'm dread to think what Twitter would be like.
It's gonna happen to Bernie too. Oh, that's just gonna be sad.
Oh,
It's gonna happen to Bernie sooner.
Oh, all the fucking Reddit's just gonna be like, Bernie.
Bernie's a good
It's the best
candidate.
chance the Democrats have, alright?
Yeah.
When it comes to 2020.
Andrew Yang.
Vote
No.
for John McAfee. Vote for the third party.
Oh.
What's
A
wrong?
vote for John McAfee is a vote for security in our time.
Then again, he
Bruh,
doesn't like his antivirus.
Just vote for Protogen.
My name is Proto.
Security is my motto.
It's my motto. Anyway, we've gone completely off track.
We tend to do with Hong Kong for some reason.
We tend to do with every topic.
Every
Yeah.
topic, yeah.
I don't know. It's
We're
just
in a
like-
show here, it's supposed to be entertaining, not just facts, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
if you're expecting video games, I hate to break it to you lads, but nah.
We
Not
haven't got
thi-
those this
Not
evening.
this week.
It's
No.
okay though, because we've already got your ad revenue. Ha ha ha.
We don't have ads.
Not yet.
Look who is the fool.
I hate to tell you, Vivian, but we don't have ads running on
We
the
don't have
channel.
viewers.
Declan, download an advert and put it in the middle of the podcast.
I don't think that's how it works.
Just do it anyway.
Protogen.
Yeah.
Protogen antivirus.
This episode is sponsored by Progen. Download, make your computer run better.
Like
Anyway,
I
we've got
said.
one last topic to talk about.
Oh, are we moving on from Hong Kong?
I don't know, are we?
Yes.
I mean, I was just gonna do a friendly reminder that whilst these elections on paper, all these elections deal with is bus routes and rubbish collection, so it's just local issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, the big sort of deal is the fact that they can be put on this committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a screw you China move, you know. That's what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
So Hong Kong, carry on as you are,
Yeah.
and
Keep it going for the third episode in a row.
yeah, just for the love of God,
Don't give in.
don't give
Yeah.
up.
Keep giving us things to talk about.
No, not for that reason. Keep doing
No.
it because it's the right thing to do.
It is
Oh,
the
yeah.
right thing to do.
But also because we need content.
Ooh, I didn't say that.
That's
I
that's
did.
all you. That's all you were. That's was.
Although
Okay.
I also agree.
Okay, up next we've got university strikes.
My university is
I-
not on strike.
uh,
Therefore, I do not know anything about it.
Neither is ours.
Declan's your university on strike.
Some people, but not my lecturers.
Right, I'm doing some investigation on this now.
The thing is, it just
Apparently,
comes
it's
to,
to do with being paid.
Universities
it comes
start
down
to
to
strike
pay.
over
It's
pensions
about
and pay.
pensions.
Students across the UK face disruption as lecturers and support staff in 60 universities start an 8-day strike.
Why
There's
they
a
say
University
disruption to
Colleges
students
Union.
like we don't want a day off?
Wait, hang on. We're
Because you
paying.
don't
We're
get to-
paying for our education.
Because you don't get to catch up with it, Aviard.
Yeah, we're paying for our education.
If they strike, that information is forever lost into the multiverse.
Oh no, bro! What?
We're paying like eight. We're paying like
Nine.
£8,000 a year to be there.
9,250.
Universities say strikes are not the way forward, and do all they can to minimise the impact of industrial action on students.
I think
Wow.
there's a way
Again.
forward.
I'm on Dum Dum foundation year. Not that there's anything wrong with foundation year. It's just.
You don't. personally, I
UCU
think.
says staff have reached breaking point over a number of issues, including workloads, real terms cuts in pay, a 15% gender pay gap, and
Jesus.
changes to pensions for staff in the university's superannuation scheme, which the union says will leave members paying in more and receiving less in retirement.
Well,
Can we call it by its proper name though? It's a gender lifetime earnings gap. It's not a pay gap because that's
It's a
illegal.
gender lifetime earnings difference.
Yeah, it's illegal to pay people differently based on race and gender.
Gender, sexuality, all these
disability,
things. Yeah. That's a whole different can of worms, though. Do you really
Yeah.
want to open it?
No, I'm gonna close it back up. I didn't use my tin opener properly. I'm not very good
Faulty.
at them.
It's faulty.
I'm gonna send that back
yeah.
and put the can back on the shelf.
Yeah,
Hmm.
see if it's eligible for 30-day money back guarantee. You know.
Yeah, probably.
Probably the best idea to.
I think the problem with higher education is its flirtation with a free market system.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's my
Right,
opinion.
Joe, you've said words. What do they mean?
Well, the fact that we're having to pay,
In quotation marks,
the fact that we're having
Yeah.
to take out student loans now,
which won't get paid
when
back.
we used to get education grants.
Hey,
Wait.
I might pay mine back. Computer science, damn way.
The universities used to run a lot like your high schools and your primary schools.
Yes.
Not the same, obviously, but
Hmm.
they were more
High
they were
school
more
books
so
for
funded
adults.
they were more so funded by the government,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which ensured that lecturers in universities got equal pay. You got fair pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas now universities rely more on either individual or corporate donors
Mhm.
to pay their way for funding and what have you. And as well as that goes into the fact that us as students are sponsored by the government. We aren't actually just students. We're put in there through sponsorship. You know what I mean?
I
Yes.
think if the government got to know me, I think they'd revoke that sponsor.
And this is one of the things that Labour wants to reverse. They want to reverse tuition fees moving forwards. That doesn't affect us.
Gave
Yeah.
them to us.
No, that was the Lib Dems. Well, it was Labour. It was Labour, but it was New Labour, and Lib Dems.
And that's not
increased it
Labour.
and the Lib Dems increased it to the point that it is now.
I refuse.
You know what I mean?
I refuse to acknowledge.
It
New
was
Labour as
Tony.
being-
If we got Tony on, we could blast Tony for it. But Tony's a lot different ideologically than the party is now. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
Tony, please come on to
Blair,
the
Tony
podcast.
Blair.
Um,
All in, Tony Blair.
what-
I don't
What?
think Tony will ever join our podcast.
No, he wouldn't.
And we put him on blast though, because he's a prick.
I just
We'd
like,
give him the
yo,
Blaster
Tony,
Pro 3000.
Tony, I remember you when I was like, what, 6?
I never liked you then,
I don't like you now.
and I really don't like you now.
No, just
He
I
doesn't-
don't have an opinion because I was too young.
So, we've got a list of universities that are striking here.
Oh, list.
Let's read some out.
Oh,
In
Tony-
total, the UCU says
Tony can-
43 universities are taking industrial action over both pensions and pay and conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And these include Aston University, Cardiff University, Loughborough University, Newcastle University, the Open University, University College London, University of Bradford, University of Cambridge, University of Edinburgh, University of Glasgow, University of Leicester, University of Lancaster, Goldsmith College, Queen Mary University of London, Royal Holloway, University of Reading, University of Southampton, University of York. We could name more, but that's a number of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Staff at a further 14 institutions are striking over paying conditions only, which include the Glasgow School of Art, Liverpool Hope University, Sheffield Hallam University.
All
Yeah,
the
Sheffield
basic
Hallam,
ones.
is that where Norman goes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
University of
Norman is a friend
Oxford.
the show.
Oxford's in there.
Oxford's striking over pay and conditions.
Ooh,
And
Fair enough.
the ones that are striking over only pensions include the University of East Anglia.
Yo, I'll like.
That's an
gonna go there
exhaustive
at one
list.
point.
Just-
There's
Right.
3, and I named 1.
So what do we think?
If I went to like Oxford and they went on strike, I'd be pissed off.
yeah, you would for such a prestigious institution.
So-
Yeah.
that you're paying for, might I
Yeah.
add,
Yeah.
which was the whole conversation just now.
Like
Yeah.
you got the fucking, AAA A-level grades or whatever.
No, you've
Yeah.
got to have AAA star.
Triple A star. You've had
Yeah.
private tuition from your mummy and daddy
Yeah.
to get there in the first place.
But luckily, I am a dum-dum that goes to Leeds Trinity. Not that there's anything wrong with Leeds
Well,
Trinity.
just remember that Harold Wilson's from Huddersfield. And look where that got him.
Weatherspoons.
Yeah, he's on
Prime
Weatherspoons
Minister.
now. He's a name.
Prime Ministership.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
Having
prefer
a
him for his
that's for you, though.
Weatherspoons rather than his Prime Minister.
He legalised homosexuality.
He made it legal.
And
Yeah,
he,
but he also made a
Yeah.
Weatherspoons.
Yeah, but out of all them achievements, Weatherspoons has to be up there.
Very, very good Weatherspoons. Very nice food there.
It's like all Weatherspoons.
well, he didn't legally. He decriminalised it.
Yeah, right.
He did not legalize.
If you ever see one of us in Lord Wilson in Huddersfield, please feel free to buy us a drink.
That's some wishful thinking there, isn't it?
Hmm.
One day.
How do you decriminalize something without making it legal?
What do you mean?
You can just remove like punishments for it.
Criminal sentencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so technically it's
Well,
it's legal.
it's like how the police in this country won't act on possession of marijuana. You know what I mean?
Oh, they will, but
Sometimes.
not all of them will.
Not all the time.
No.
Depends on who you're running to, innit?
Hmm. Well, if you ask me, these teachers are completely justified to strike.
Yeah, but you have to,
I'm sure if you see it from their perspective,
Yeah.
then I say go for it. You know, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, they're the ones whose pay is affected by this. They're the ones whose retirement is affected by this. And yes, I understand the peoples whose university is affected by this. Their education is affected by this. Everyone struggles because of this. And it just comes down to the government getting something right for a change.
Come on, government.
You know?
Get it together.
If the government wasn't incompetent,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a necessity for this.
Yeah.
You could say that about everything, though, couldn't you?
Oh, you could, of course.
But since we've got back onto the government, concluding thoughts. There's an election coming up. Vote right, so we
not like
can
literally
have proper
like,
education.
right.
Don't vote all the way right, because then you'll be voting for Brexit Party / UKIP and.
Slash bump.
BMT.
Oh, do they even stand?
Yeah, probably.
Wait, who?
If so, where?
The British National Party.
Oh, right.
I thought they collapsed though.
They don't have proper leadership, do they? They have Dick Brown.
If you are a member,
Yeah, they did. They did.
please feel free to join our podcast. But
Oh yeah, they have Dick Brain as the leader. Or was that UKIP?
That was UKIP.
It's
Yeah,
now.
that was UKIP.
Oh, never mind. It's
was
Adam
UKIP.
Walker at the moment.
But I mean, I'm sure all of our audience are grown adults who can vote or are soon going to be able to vote.
Yes.
I don't know the exact statistics of our fan base.
That's a strong word.
Yeah, well, our fan base is loyal.
Are they now?
I guess. I mean, I'd be surprised if anyone were like listening at this point.
No, everyone switches off after about 10 minutes. Like, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, it's because I've said like too many words.
It's because in the intro you're like, oh, time for heavy metal madness. And everyone's like, shit, not this
Everyone's
again.
like, oh no, not this
Oh,
kid.
no.
Oh, I'd get him back on podcast.
Well,
I think that's about it.
I think that is us done for the
I
week.
think that wraps it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. Listening. I do
You'll
hope
be
that
watching when the Farages will have been on screen, though.
I do
Of
hope-
course, everyone's watched that bit.
I do hope that the section on the reading of the manifesto policy was actually helpful to some people who were undecided.
Oh yeah.
You know, I encourage them to look at the article in the description
Yeah.
and give it a full read, because we didn't do justice to
Yeah.
all
And
the parties.
also,
Policies. And we didn't even cover all of them.
No, we just focused primarily on the main chunk of it. Go on, AVS.
make up your own choice. Don't listen to us. Like, if you want to vote Lib Dem, that is
Yeah.
perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, we have a
Vote for
joke.
vote for who you want to.
Yeah.
Just don't spoil your ballot or not vote at all.
Your
Mhm.
vote
Because it
could
is
count.
an important election and your vote matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a joke and a
Don't
laugh
laugh about it.
We have a joke and a laugh here about this, but in all seriousness, go vote
Yeah.
on December 12th.
Even if it is a Thursday.
Voting
the
on a
weekend.
Thursday.
No, they could have made it like any other day.
Fair enough.
No, don't we always have elections on Thursdays?
No.
No.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this is the All In Squadcast signing off.
Goodbye.
Bye.